What if I told you that loneliness is a luxury? I know. You might be quick to want to argue with me, to disagree, and stand your ground. But that's actually a good thing, because that means you are ready to be enlightened. Because boy, do I have a lot to enlighten you with about loneliness. Hi, my name is Carmi, and this is Inside Edition, your reminder that there's nothing wrong with you. You're just human, and unfortunately so am I. So let's talk about loneliness, the state of being alone, you know? But loneliness kind of has this negative connotation that we assign to it. It's just space to yourself, to hear yourself think, to not perform, to not be demanded of anything, to not feel responsible to other people. A lot of people never get to have that to themselves, and so that's why it feels like a luxury. But also, if you are coming from an insecure place where you are left with your own thoughts and you are required to be with yourself and be fully responsible for yourself, that's when it starts to feel miserable and like punishment. But I'm here to enlighten you a little bit more about loneliness and how we can transform it from feeling like a punishment and feeling like something that's extremely miserable and into something more rewarding, more fulfilling, better, healing, and like a luxury, like an experience rather than death. It doesn't feel like death. I don't know why I said that. Just ignore that. Anyway, okay. I think it feels unbearable when you're outsourcing yourself to feel fulfilled, when you can always come back to yourself to feel fulfilled. Actually, I think when you source your own fulfillment from yourself, that's when you feel the most fulfilled. Once you start liking your own company, even just a little bit, even just like a tad, just a smidge, then loneliness will turn from this scary void of existential crisis into something quieter, lighter, maybe even comforting. A lot of people confuse loneliness with being unwanted, but it's just not the same thing at all. Like, you can't confuse the two. You can be deeply wanted, but still feel lonely. We can change that. I'm here to enlighten you on how we can change that, okay? And you can also just be alone and not feel lonely at all. That's what we're gonna accomplish today, okay? Me and you, we're yapping together. I'm alone right now. You might be alone right now too. Or even if you're not alone, you could still feel lonely. So hey, let's yap it out together, okay? Because loneliness is not about the quantity of people. It's about connection, including the one with yourself, okay? Loneliness itself isn't objectively painful. It's like the narrative that we slap onto it, and it turns it into something way deeper than it actually is, that feels like an existential crisis and that there's something incredibly wrong with you, when in fact you are just human and you are just being with yourself. That is all it is. You don't have to slap a meaning onto it, because once you stop being like, why am I like this? Why am I alone? This must mean something. And start being like, oh, this is just a human state. It loses so much power over you. And it's not an identity, it's just a moment. A moment. And we know that moments pass. So it'll feel so much less heavy, you know? I actually think that loneliness is necessary to maintain a sense of peace in your own life, and you need those moments when you're just with yourself to reflect and relax and rest. It's like sleep. No one's like, oh my god, like, I hate sleeping, it's so miserable, like, I can't bear it. Like, no, it's the same thing with having alone time. You need it to just maintain your well-being. That's why after being around a lot of people, a lot of us naturally crave like quiet time, alone time with ourselves. At least that's how I am. I know that some people might after a long, exhausting week, they might crave like a night out. That's not really me. Like, I feel like it's normal for all of us to crave that downtime with ourselves and that alone time after feeling socially exhausted or drained, and you just want that time to yourself. That right there just tells you there's something restorative about loneliness or being alone. The meaning comes from you. That's what you put onto it. But once you realize that is something that you put onto it and you don't have to believe in that meaning or even assign it a meaning, then it's like, oh, wait, we can take advantage of this. Then wait, loneliness is a luxury. I think loneliness, when you hear that word, it's already a negative connotation. You think, ooh, that brings me back to dark times, but it doesn't have to be dark. It doesn't have to be dark. Just put on a flashlight, you know what I mean? One thing about me is I love analogies. I love being symbolic. It can do so much for you. And if you're refusing to take advantage of that, then of course it's gonna feel miserable, okay? So, I notice that during times where I feel more insecure, I tend to be more affected by the state of being lonely. Just the idea of being by myself and feeling unappreciated, unwanted, unloved, it can really affect me, and I feel miserable because it feels like everything is against me and that there's something wrong with me. But maybe I've just matured more. I just know that I'm more emotionally sensitive in these times. I know that feeling lonely or feeling unappreciated will feel so much heavier than it actually is, because feeling unappreciated or feeling unloved doesn't mean that you are actually unloved, unappreciated. It's just a feeling. And I don't know why it was so difficult for me to realize that before, but in the moment it feels a lot heavier than it actually is. It's very important to be gentle with yourself, be compassionate, and know that it's nothing about you. It's just an emotional state. Especially if it's in a more vulnerable time, I need to be there for myself and handle it myself. No amount of company can do that work for you. You're craving a sense of security within yourself, and other people can soothe you, sure, but that feeling of safety and security that comes from coming back to yourself, that can only be done from yourself. Loneliness will stop feeling like the enemy, the villain, when you realize that it's not asking you to judge yourself, to criticize yourself. It's just asking you to slow down, to take a breather in life. And that is a luxury. That is a luxury that a lot of people don't let themselves have. To be mindful, slow down, and breathe. I had to clock myself that I was certainty seeking in moments of loneliness. I just felt unloved or unappreciated. And so I would literally spend hours, maybe even days, trying to figure out why I'm not loved and why I'm not appreciated, because I thought maybe if I found out the reason why, then it would solve things. I'm not trying to shame myself or invalidate myself. Looking back at it, I realize it felt so necessary to do, to try to figure out why I'm unloved or unappreciated. If you were to ask someone who feels loved and feels appreciated, so what do you do? Like, how do you feel so loved and appreciated? I don't think they would respond with, oh yeah, so I spent my entire evening listing out the reasons why people might not love me or appreciate me, categorized and color-coded. Like, no. I don't think that's the way to feel loved or appreciated. When you feel that ache, that pain, that hurt, your brain is so desperate to resolve it. So it's like, if I can just find the reason why, then maybe we can stop this. But it just doesn't work that way. Feelings are not facts, but feelings can feel like facts, especially if you're in them in the moment. And so loneliness and insecurity, it's the perfect storm for that. Your emotions will feel louder, so your brain will assume that they're more real, more truthful, but really it's just your sensitivity got turned up. Reality hasn't changed at all. It just feels like everything's heightened. I think when you realize that you're just in a more sensitive, vulnerable state, it's important to still not argue with your feelings. You know, you don't have to be like, so actually, I am loved. You just have to be like, okay, so this is what I am feeling right now, and that's it. It doesn't mean anything. I just feel unloved, and I feel unappreciated. Okay, it's just a moment. It'll pass. You can't just like logic your way out of feeling unloved. That's kind of like trying to Google your way out of hunger. You don't need answers. You don't need certainty. You need nourishment, comfort, regulation, something gentle. Just being there for yourself. I think that now that I've learned that my previous methods were ineffective, I've now learned what actually works for me in these moments. And so if I were to give any sort of advice on how to deal with these uncomfortable feelings with loneliness, it's just to be patient with yourself, because it's gonna take time to figure out what actually works for you. Be aware that it's kind of a trial and error process, and the ultimate goal is to eventually figure out what makes you feel not shitty, but it's gonna feel shitty at first. So even if you try something and it makes you feel even more shitty, you can't get too in your head about that. Just be like, it just means you're crossing one thing off the list, you know, because you're ultimately trying to get to that one thing that you don't have to cross off the list, and you can circle and be like, hell yeah. You're basically learning. It's a process of learning and eliminating what doesn't work. But you will figure it out. That's the end goal. That's the ultimate goal. So be aware. The ultimate goal is you will figure out what's going to actually feel amazing. Or maybe not amazing. I don't want to say that feeling lonely is amazing, but feel not miserable, you know? And you got to persevere through the shitty phase, because first it'll feel shitty, but then it'll feel pretty. I figured out for me that it's when I'm lacking a sense of stability or security, and this usually means that I need more structure, routine, hobbies, creative work, anything to give me a sense of self, a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Honestly, now more than ever, I've been super isolated. I haven't hung out with a friend in like, I don't know, that's kind of embarrassing if I were to say that. I've been very much with myself all the time, but I love it. I don't feel miserable at all. I feel like I'm having the time of my life, because I've been super focused on this content creation, and this is just so fun and fulfilling to me, and I'm having the time of my life. I love it. I feel purposeful. I feel creative. I feel expressive. You just gotta figure out really what works for you, and maybe you'll try some things and be like, well, that didn't work, but you just gotta keep going, keep persevering through the shittiness, so you can get to the prettiness and the luxuriousness. Isolation with purpose feels completely different than isolation with nothing to latch onto, you know? One feels empty and the other one feels focused, chosen, maybe peaceful, maybe fun, maybe creative, maybe explorative. Dora the Explorer. A lot of people think that they need more love or more people or more reassurance during times of loneliness, but what you actually probably need is rhythm, structure, stability, something to wake up for in the morning, something that feels like yours. And so instead of trying to figure out what to do to feel loved, the most important thing to do is figure out what you love again. Not loved, no D, take the D off, it's just love. Loved is a byproduct, and love is the source. Quote that. Do things that are truly for you, that you truly love, just for your own joy and fulfillment. Doesn't even have to be productive or useful. Literally just what makes your heart happy. That's when you start being lovable. But that's not even the goal here. It's to just be so in love with your life and appreciating your own life again. Like, you won't even need to feel the need to feel loved, because you're just in love with your life. You can be loved without feeling like you're loved 24/7. I think that's normal. I think if you feel loved 24/7, that might be a little bit concerning. Like, do you have a stalker? That's a lot. So I'm very grateful that I get to say that my family loves me, but do I feel their love 24/7? No. That might be like helicopter style parenting or family, and I wouldn't really prefer that. That would be a little bit creepy. So it's not that you have to feel loved. You don't have to feel loved all the time. Just know that being loved and feeling loved are two different things. If you're expecting external validation to reassure you or be proof that you are loved, that's kind of ridiculous. Because even if you were literally handcuffed to another human being whose sole purpose was to just stand there and remind you, like, I love you, shawty, for the rest of your life, like, there will still be moments where you feel unloved, because the feeling isn't about proof. It's about connection, which means connection to yourself, fulfillment within yourself, and trying to figure out why you are unloved or unappreciated won't do shit. Because usually that means you gotta figure out what next little step you can do to bring you fulfillment, security, sense of purpose in some sort of way. And for me, the first thing I jump to is to laugh. I love laughing, but it could be different for you. Maybe you just want to browse through Pinterest and start looking at corny little inspirational quotes. Or maybe you want to go on Facebook Reels and watch little reels of cats like a millennial. Or maybe you want to go on YouTube and watch those little dancing fruits. I hope you know what I'm talking about. But I don't know, anything that makes your little heart happy. Being lonely during these times, it is a luxury, because you have this opportunity now to kind of explore and figure out all sorts of ways to make your heart happy again. I've figured out that during these times, I really love reconnecting with my inner child. And as a kid, I was a very expressive, creative, silly, playful girl. And so I kind of just come back to her, and I can journal with colorful pens and markers and glittery stickers, or I make little silly vlogs just for myself, reading old notes that I wrote to myself that I have no idea what they mean. It's just, why did I write this? Like, go in your notes app. You're gonna laugh. I love helping other people too, giving advice. When someone can resonate with the words I say, that means so much to me. It makes my heart so happy. I just love being a comfort person. And I also love coming up with random little side quests to do, or little adventures, trying new snacks or foods, decorating, and I love organizing things and making things pretty and aesthetic. I love yummy scents, candles, perfumes, hand soaps, body wash. I love taking a fresh shower and feeling fresh and clean, singing in the car, whether it's being absolutely terrible at it with absolutely no shame, or fully being convinced that I'm gonna be the next breakthrough pop star. And I also love dancing too. Again, whether it's cringe, honestly probably best that I am alone and no one has to witness me and get lifelong trauma by seeing it, or I'm again genuinely convinced that I would win Dancing with the Stars. I also love yapping. Obviously, I think you can tell. I love yapping, whether it's to myself, a voice memo or a video, whether it's on the phone, whether it's to a friend, a family member, someone random, a stranger in the grocery store. They're trying to end the conversation and walk away because their groceries are literally melting in their basket, but I'm sharing my entire life story and they're trying to walk away but I'm still speaking. I love doing that too. And I just love it. There's so much to love, and there's so much freedom in being alone. You're responsible to nobody, and you get to explore so many opportunities, because we often forget how many possibilities there are for us out there, and we aren't just stuck with the life that we're currently in. You can wake up tomorrow and decide to cosplay as a British spy. You're not alone because you're unwanted. You're alone because you're unoccupied. And that's a gift if you use it right. You can appreciate loneliness for being a state where nothing is demanded of you. You don't have to adapt. You don't have to mirror to anything. You don't have to manage anything. You don't have to prove anything. You just exist. And most people don't fear it because it's painful. They fear it because it removes distraction. you know? Once all the noise is gone, you're just left with yourself. And that can be uncomfortable if you're not used to being by your own side yet. But once you are your own right-hand man, is that what it is? Once you're your own left-hand man. Oh boy. I don't know. But once you are there for yourself, loneliness will stop feeling like abandonment and feel more like privacy. And privacy is a luxury. It's rare. It gives you choice. Once you're lonely, you're deciding for yourself, deciding what to do with your own time, your own energy, your own attention, who you let in, what you tolerate, you know? And it's what you choose to build with your own life. That's your power. Even if it doesn't feel super glamorous, you get to choose ultimately. And it's where your baseline shows up. There's no highs from other people. There's no lows from rejection. That's where you actually get to decide what will regulate you, what excites you, and what soothes you, not what distracts you or what sustains you. You get to choose what is a luxury to you. It gets a bad rep because people confuse it with being unappreciated, feeling unwanted. But it's just a pause. It's a pause. That's all it is. It's a moment with yourself. It's a recalibration moment. Like a, what do I want to do now? That's really all it is. And those phases will feel uncomfortable, but they're also where the next version of you gets assembled, gets built, and you get to build that. You get to have fun with it and be exploring new possibilities, everything. It's a big opportunity for you. It's a very fun, fulfilling opportunity for you if you let it be. It doesn't ask you to do any sort of rushing. It doesn't care about timelines. It doesn't compare you to anybody. It just sits there like, okay, so where are we going next? What should we do now? And you get to answer that. That's the fun part. You get to answer it. You can be creative. You can be explorative. I don't know what the word is. You can be lazy. You can be experimental. You can do whatever you want. It's your time to shine. Not that loneliness will feel amazing and great all the time, but it gives you full access to yourself without any interference. That is a luxury. Okay. I'm gonna try to rush through this segment because my laptop is about to die, but I need to use it to read off this. I have written down I wrote down a lot of things to do, ideas to do when you're lonely, okay? Ideas of what you can do when you're lonely. And I had help with ChatGPT for some of them, but some of them I came up completely by myself, okay? Okay? So, this one I didn't come up with. ChatGPT came up with this, but host a dinner party with random objects in your house as your dinner guests and have a heated argument with them about whether a hot dog is a sandwich. That's fun. That's fun. You can totally have fun with that, and you can totally do that by yourself. You just need objects. And host a dinner party. Hosting is fun. Who says that you need people to host a dinner party? Just have one. It's fun. You get to decorate and plate things. It's very fun. Walk outside and film random plants or animals or nature and voice it over like a nature documentary. Like Steve Irwin. That's so fun. You can be like, crikey. Hey, I can see nature right now, but it's really dark outside. It's real dark and spooky outside. You can't see anything. Behind me is a tree and you can't see it. Crikey, mate. Just do that. Have fun with it, okay? Build a pillow fort, but extremely extra. I came up with this one. Put an unnecessary amount of effort into it. Make a pillow fortress, not just a fort, a fortress, a castle, a kingdom. Have fun with it. Maybe live in it. That's weird. Okay. Make an obstacle. Oh my god, the energy battery power. Okay. Make an obstacle course like DIY Wipeout. Self-explanatory. Just have fun. Go on Google Maps and go to a random street view area in the world, any part of the world, find a person, then make up their whole backstory, their whole villain origin story. right? What is their favorite food? What do they eat for breakfast? What's their job? What events happened to them that possibly traumatized them and shaped them as a person? Come up with that. That's fun. Find random items in your house and make a fashion item out of it, or an entire outfit, and record yourself walking on a runway. Oh, sorry, no, not walking. Strutting. Yes, ma'am. Okay, play Chopped with yourself. This is so fun. And even better if you record it with foods that you already have in your fridge or pantry, and time yourself so that you create a lot of pressure, okay? You need the pressure for it to happen. Play background music too. Okay, create a fake Vogue interview with yourself. Just interview yourself. You can even go back and forth and switch, like, what's your morning routine? I wake up, that's fun. Host a fake TED Talk. That's all I wrote for that. But that could be fun. Whatever you feel. This is my TED Talk today. Hi, and thank you so much for watching my TED Talk, because I do have to go. Thank you so much for watching, though, guys. Thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk. I love talking about lonely. I love talking about Oh my god! I love talking about loneliness and how it is actually so much fun and a luxury. Thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk. I have to go because it's about to die. Love you. Bye.